Hey guys, it's Troy coming at you with another video from London Soho, and what I want to talk about in this little clip is the fact that cold approach is an adolescent term and people who are using it are morons, quite frankly. Now, I did do a video about the same subject a couple of years ago. I was in Mexico City, I think, from memory, and the real reason behind this, behind the clickbaity title, is because I think it's important to push back on received terminology. I've done another video actually in this same session where I talk about irreverence, and your irreverence should extend not just to, oh, the mainstream media is all lies, blah, 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 I can't trust politicians. Your irreverence should also extend even to the circles that you have in real life, and to the content that you follow in real life, and to the, the established dictum of those, the circles that create that content, okay? And one of those spaces is the dating space for men, okay? And there's been a lot of terminology that's been used over the years about the subject of dating and how to become proficient at it, how to become more attractive and all that kind of stuff. And these terms and the concepts, they're useful to a point, okay? Because they're containers, they're buckets. And something like the term cold approach, we can use that because everybody kind of understands what it means, or everybody who's been exposed to this material understands what it means. But it's kind of an adolescent sort of concept, it's kind of an adolescent idea, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because when you talk about cold approach, for a start, it's a very odd sounding term, okay? It sounds very clinical, right? It's a cold approach. And it sort of sets the activity of relating to other human beings out as being this strange, slightly odd, slightly clinical thing. And unfortunately, it also carries associations with it of people doing what's commonly called day game. And what day game is basically running around the streets or running around shopping malls and going up and talking to girls and trying to get phone numbers, okay? And doing it in a sort of systematic, odd, slightly socially awkward way. And none of that is a good mental frame to come from. And the kind of people who are teaching that and promoting that are usually idiots, okay? Because they haven't figured out that what this is actually about is not cold approach or day game or some kind of weird subcultural term or concept or way of doing things. This is about relating to other human beings, okay, very simply. But it's about relating to other human beings, specifically women, okay, if you're looking to date, and doing so in a way that's going to magnify the attractive qualities that you have. And as I've said in recent videos, I mean, what this is actually about is not so much, what you say and coming up with clever lines and gambits and things like this. What it's actually about is the energy and the attraction that you create in the first moments of an approach or on a date, okay? That's the important thing. So this notion of cold approach, I mean, yes, broadly speaking, what are you doing? You're going up to somebody that you don't know and you're starting a conversation. But again, and by the way, for the record, I also object to the term day game as well. I think that sounds weird and stupid also, and we should really stop using these terms because, once more, it sort of makes the behavior of engaging with other human beings seem odd. And the other thing is that it seems to relegate it to a particular sphere. So we've talked about the streets, we've talked about the shopping mall, okay? The truth of the matter is that most people who actually get proficient with this stuff are not even operating in those realms, or maybe they are sometimes, occasionally, if they see someone they really like. But actually, a lot of this stuff happens in much more neutral situations. We're talking about hotel lobbies, we're talking about hotel bars, we're talking about lounge bars, we're talking about jazz clubs, okay? We're talking about coffee shops, we're talking about nightclubs even, okay? There is a difference between what you do at night versus what you do in the day because of the energy and so on. And banging nightclubs, the really high-end, really sort of full-on house clubs are, a slightly different beast. But anything else up to that point, this is where the real social realm is. This is where the actual socializing happens. The stuff that you see on YouTube, where it's people in a shopping mall or people in, in the street or whatever, that's practice. That's all it is. It's practice drills, okay? And that's fine. As a social experiment, you can go up to people in the street and you can, talk to them or whatever. But you shouldn't be making a lifestyle out of it. You shouldn't be making a lifestyle out of cold approach like some fucking weirdo. That's not how you want to live life, okay? And anybody who does, you want to give them a very wide berth. This is about being an effective social animal, usually within normal social situations, okay? That's where you want to get to. You want to get to somebody who makes this a normal part of their life, who makes this a normal part of their existence, okay? Every day you speak to 1 or 2 new people, okay? It might be at a social event, it might be at the lounge bar, etc., etc. It's not about, you know, running around like a twitching raccoon in the streets trying to entice uninterested women into your orbit. That's absolutely not what it's about. Now, it's not to say that if you see somebody and, you know, you feel there's a bit of a connection or a bit of a vibe, or you're particularly drawn to them, that you can't go and speak to them, you know, in the street, of course. But there's a subtle distinction between that and making a fetishized sort of lifestyle out of it, okay? And that's something that I absolutely reject, okay? And it's certainly not a direction that I would want to lead any of my clients that I work with into, because it's just weird. It's abnormal, it's strange, it's socially awkward, and the kind of people who buy into it as a lifestyle tend to be, I don't know, I don't want to be too offensive here, but it's a low value form of behavior. What you want to be doing, unless you're actually making money out of this, okay, you want to be not talking about it, you want to be not getting immersed in so-called theory, or, you know, being active, or even worse, having one of those X accounts where you talk about, you know, your conquests and you do a +1. I mean, just absolutely such weird behavior, such really, really odd behavior. You know, you don't want to be falling down that rabbit hole, okay? You know, you want to be the kind of guy who is just naturally social, okay? Who, when he sees somebody he likes, he goes and starts a conversation with them. But it's not a big deal. It's not something to post about online. It's not something to endlessly rehash and talk about in comment sections and so on. And it's not something really to use weird terminology like cold approach about, okay? Because once again, and I try and make the point again, in doing that, you are making the behavior seem odd. You're making the behavior seem like something that is sort of proscribed and a little bit naughty and a little bit secretive. And it absolutely isn't. In fact, it's the complete opposite of that, okay? The act of going and being social with other human beings is as old as time, all right? And we don't need stupid jargon to describe it. We don't need stupid language to describe it. We need to just do it, okay? Unless, as I said, you happen to be, you know, in the industry and you're using those terms as a shorthand. And I do get why people do it. And look, I've used the terms as well, so I'm not innocent in this. But I do think it's about time we started to push back on this nonsense and we started to just be more social as people and not make it into this weird subcultural thing, because that actually does it a disservice, okay? And it's not surprising that mainstream society looks on it askance, right? When people are creating content that sort of puts it into a chamber of oddness and weirdness, you know? We do it to ourselves, or those people do it to themselves, and they're not doing anybody any favors, okay? So anybody who's talking about cold approach and all that nonsense, shun them. It's ridiculous, okay? This is about becoming an optimized human being. This is about firstly understanding yourself and then figuring out, okay, so how do I express that genuine, authentic nature of myself in a manner that is elevated and is attractive, okay? And that is the key to this. And it's also about, okay, how do I do that in a manner that brings emotion, all right? That creates emotion in the people that you're dealing with, right? That really is the key. Not tips, not tricks, not stupid jargon, not outdated notions from, you know, 2004, okay? So with that being said, rant over. Please do subscribe to my Substack if you haven't already. The link is below. Do subscribe to this channel, give me a like, write a comment, etc., etc. It all helps with the algo. And if you are interested in coaching, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.